Good evening, welcome to the Buck Stops here. I am Vishnu Shom. With the pollution crisis in Delhi an annual feature, in fact, it remains pretty much that through the year, a crisis. The government has now announced a drastic plan to help clean up the air in the national capital region. Bharat Stage-VI fuel equivalent to Euro 6 standards will be introduced in the national capital region by 2018. Will this really help in the cleanup of the NCR? Are our oil companies ready to spend tens of thousands of crores to upgrade their fuel facilities to cater just for the national capital region? And what about the fact that Euro 6 engines won't be introduced? So is Euro 6 fuel just good enough? Those are some of the issues we'll be looking at this evening. Well, when a lot of people heard that India, at least a part of India, was going to move to Bharat Stage-VI fuel equivalent to Euro 6 standards, it meant that finally there was a possibility of getting some more clean air in the national capital region, which is choked for large parts of the winter. But the fact is, a lot of people would say that this particular decision is a knee-jerk reaction. And in fact, a lot more needs to be done to ensure that Euro 6 fuel, which has a great deal of potential for transforming our immediate environment, can be used the way it should be used. Is bringing in Euro 6 fuel just for the NCR feasible for oil companies? Does it really make much of a difference for car companies? Or is it still imperative because any small step that we take is enough to change the air that we breathe? Joining us to look at this, Jagdish Khattar, a doyen of the Indian auto industry, the CMD of Carnation Auto; Tutu Dhawan, an automobile expert, very well known as well, with us in the studio; Anumita Roy Chaudhary, Executive Director at CSE. She works extensively on the issue of air pollution; Shaina NC of the BJP; and Anup Bandivadekar, Program Director of the International Council on Clean Transportation. He joins us from San Francisco. Mr. Khattar, I'd like to come to you first. Apparently, we'll get BS6 fuel in the national capital region in 2018, but we won't have BS6 cars. Will it make much of a difference?
Vishnu, a minor correction. If I read correctly, you will get this fuel only in Delhi in 2018.
In NCR, yes.
And NCR in 2019.
Okay.
So there's a difference of 1 year. And in any case, in 2020, everyone is supposed to get it. So, you know, that... So, first
so
of all,
2018 in Delhi, 2019 for the rest of the NCR, and 2020 apparently for the entire country. But 2018, let's focus on that. And let's focus on 2018. Is it going to make much of a difference?
I'm afraid not, because you see, let's not forget, fuel quality and engine technology go together. One without the other doesn't work. There is a possibility that the Euro 4 cars and all, if they use Euro 6 fuel, there might be a small improvement, but it's not going to make any difference. So this, I don't think it's going to make any difference. Today, everyone is, I'm sorry to say, every ministry is making brownie points. Road Ministry, Transport Ministry does the emission norms, gives the road map. Of course, they keep on shuffling it. Oil Ministry comes with their fuel. Environment Ministry has their own. NGT, National Green Tribunal, 10 years, 15 years. I mean, I'm sorry to say that in the last few years, automobile industry has been badgered by such knee-jerk reaction leading nowhere.
Okay.
Where have we reached in the last 15
leading
years?
Nowhere. Anup Bandivadekar, let me bring you in over here for a look at what's happening in the national capital region. Tutu Dhawan is coughing at this stage. That's because of the quality of the air around him. Does this step at all make any difference for anybody over here in the national capital region, where you'll have Euro 6 equivalent fuel, but the cars will be still Euro 4 or Bharat Stage 4 at best? You know, many of the cars are still older. They rely on Bharat Stage 3. So what difference will this really make?
So Mr. Khattar is absolutely right that having Bharat Stage-VI engines to go with this Bharat Stage-VI fuel will make the most difference. But that doesn't mean that in the meanwhile, introduction of these fuels won't reduce emissions. In fact, emissions of hydrocarbons and NOx and carbon monoxide from petrol cars of all vintages, BS1 through BS4 will go down. Particulate matter emissions from all diesel vehicles, whether light or heavy-duty vehicles, will go down as well. So while acknowledging that it's a small improvement in the aggregate, a matter of a few percentage point reduction, but it's important to realize that that reduction will occur on the entire fleet of vehicles operating in the Delhi region and then next year in the NCR region. So it is a positive step, and we should take it in that spirit.
Okay. Shaina, who's going to pay the tens of thousands of crores to the oil companies who have to upgrade their infrastructure to ensure that 2018 happens? They were catering for 2020. Are our oil companies in a position to put that money in double quick time? Are they willing to do that just for the sake of the national capital region?
Well, if you allow BS4 engines and BS6 fuel, clearly the environment is to benefit. But how soon will we be in a position to reduce pollution? That is the question. Because it's not just cars, Vishnu, it's multiple reasons, and we need to think of the NCR and Delhi as one area, but also the rest of India when it comes to pollution that is being blown out by all kinds of chemical fertilizer units, the great kind of problem that the environment and the ecology faces. So it's not just about cleaner air and the implementation of this. You asked about who is going to bear the brunt of it. Obviously, the government wants to do what's in the best interest of its citizen, and here health is wealth, so to speak. So I hope that the firms, all the auto firms, are able to deliver by 2018. But we do know the kind of problems, even for example, and if I can go slightly off track, you take a car like Tesla, and in the US, even when it comes to having battery operated cars, you know how difficult it is at certain segments and sectors for even very, very developed countries. So here you're talking about a new fuel, a new engine. So you need to have people from obviously the experts in the auto field to answer on whether we are equipped to have these BS4 engines or not. Because if we have just the BS6 fuel and we don't have the engines of the cars, then what have we achieved? So I think that really the solution to pollution and environment is multifold. We have to look at all kind of effluents that are excreted from large plants, where we as a society, even the consumption of plastic is so seriously damaging to our health. You're focusing
on the need to look at everything else, and I think that goes China without saying. We need to look at everything, but let's for the moment focus on fuels. Anubita, when we were discussing this last time around, you mentioned to me, you gave me an example of DG sets, diesel generator sets. We talk about cars, but if there is Euro 6 fuel which is available, then even this as a source of pollution would go down.
So let's keep in mind, it's a no-brainer that the moment you remove sulfur from the fuel, and we have to understand that sulfur and the particulate matter emissions is directly proportional to the level of sulfur that you have in fuel. More important, any machine that you're operating with an emission control system, their performance is going to improve. And also the durability. So as a result, any engine technology or whether DG sets or any other uses that you have, the overall emissions is going to come down. And that's what is an opportunity for us. And even more important is that once you have removed the sulfur block from fuel, and which the refineries are doing right now, then it also opens up opportunity to retrofit some of the advanced emission control technologies selectively in some of the existing vehicles that you have. So you can actually maximize and leverage this opportunity that has come to us. But we will gain, as everyone's saying, that of course when the engine technology and the fuel come together, you see the maximum benefit happening. But this move from the Ministry of Petroleum, we are lauding that, welcoming that, because it's a response to the smog crisis here. But one pointer that we would really like to give is that that when this fuel comes to the market, we'll have to ensure that it is priced
Yeah.
lower than BS4 fuel. Otherwise,
Or
misfueling.
BS4 fuel shouldn't be sold.
Exactly.
And if the
No,
price goes up,
certainly
then
not
people
in
will
Delhi,
need
but
to-
even
right.
outside. People might go outside to buy that fuel.
Right, that's an important point. Mr. Dhawan, there are some who say that, look, you know, using BS6 fuel on a BS4 car might in fact result in engine damage. Is there any truth in that?
BS6 fuel in BS4 cars, no. There will not be any damage to it, but vice versa, there would be.
Okay, so it's perfectly safe to say that all the cars in Delhi now, Bharat Stage-IV,
Yeah.
right, they would continue to work the way they are
Yes,
with
yes.
cleaner emissions.
Will be cleaner
Okay.
emission, better consumption.
Okay, the other point I wanted to ask you about is, look, 2020 is just a few years away. 2020 is when we are supposed to have Bharat Stage-VI cars also across the country, not just in the NCR. What are we expected in terms of prices? Will there be a dramatic shift in prices of cars because new technology comes in, new filters, new catalytic converters? Does that mean that cars are going to cost several lakh rupees more?
Well, depending on the size of the car and the budget of the car, yes, prices will go up. I would say almost 8 to 10% of the low budget cars, say cars coming in about 5 lakh rupees, would have an enhancement of about 50 to 80,000 bucks, and cars above that would even go beyond a lakh rupees.
And how catered is the auto industry by and large to making these changes in India?
Well, that I don't think is a problem, because most of the car companies are already aware and they have already started their homework.
And they're already selling abroad?
Yes, yes.
And have the technology
They have
existing.
everything. In fact, the cars that they are exporting, they are Euro 6, because in countries where they are being exported, they can't use a Euro 4.